WNDS Sports and Tri-State Megabucks present Candlepin Skins. It's bowling with a whole new twist as New England's best bowlers battle for cash prizes in every box. Candlepin Skins is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to the Londonderry Bowling Center here in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Doug Brown, along with Dan Murphy, for our final edition of Candlepin Skins for this season. But don't forget, we have some special presentations coming up for you on Saturdays over the next 5 weeks. We'll talk about that a little later on. But right now, we have to talk about Joe Ashline and Jim Flynn.
What can we say? They're doing the job. They won two last few weeks and back to win some more skin money.
Jim Flynn is back for his 4th consecutive week today. Joe Ashline, his 3rd consecutive week. And those two gentlemen will be joined by Fred Ruonala from Hampton, New Hampshire, and Paul Willitts from Framingham, Massachusetts. And now here are the rules here on Candlepin Skins that we have to abide by so very carefully. The bowlers will compete individually, one box at a time. And, of course, each box has a dollar value assigned to it. That's what we refer to as the skin. The high score in each box wins the dollar value assigned to that box. If there's a tie for the high score, then the skin and the money carries over till the next box. The top 2 bowlers in total pinfall at the end of the day will advance to our next skin show, which will be in the fall. So they'll have a long time to think about it. 2 games total pinfall here on Candlepin Skins. Now, here are the dollar amounts in the 2 games. The first 3 boxes of each game worth $10. The next 3 are worth $15. Boxes 7, 8, and 9 worth $25 apiece, and the 10th box of each game worth $50. So we are just moments away from the start of our final Candlepin Skin show of the season. Don't go away. We'll be coming right back to Londonderry after these messages. Paul Willitts leads off today's match, our last skins match of the season.
And he'll shoot at a triangle. 3, 5, and 6. And Fred Ruonala on lane 29 will shoot at the 4 horsemen. Oh, too bad. No luck.
And Fred Ruonala converts for the spare. 9 box for Paul Willitts, who was on with us on Stars and Strikes just a minute ago.
You see the spare off the ball of Fred Ruonala.
Paul actually won a match on singles competition a few weeeks ago against Ed Gerolman before losing to Bob Caleri, and now he's here on skins as well. Joe Ashline chops out 1 pin, and Jim Flynn touches them all to win the first skin of the day. So a $10 skin for Jim Flynn. And Joe Ashline trying to solve the 7 and the 9. And he'll have to settle 4 or 9 box. So Jim Flynn takes the opening skin, and he did it with this strike on lane 29. Fred Ruonala now. Big first ball, but look at the result. For 5-10. Favorable wood, though.
It's one of those situations where you might want to miss the 5 pin and clip the left-hand tip of the wood.
Tough break for Paul Willitts. He now has to shoot the 3 and 9. Fred first? No. Paul Willitts? No.
Oh.
Fred will take the 10. And it'll be a 9 for Paul. Jim Flynn working on a strike. Jim has got this format figured out. This is the 4th week he's been here. He's finished second 3 weeks in a row. but he's bowled very well.
Joe will shoot at the 3, 9, and 10. 2 pieces of wood, one in front of the 3 and one in front of the 10.
Jim Flynn has to take a 9 on his strike. Joe, looking this over, you can do something with that left-hand wood. Oh, he was just trying to catch the end of it. That's probably the way to play it, and a little too fine with it, missing to the left.
And that'll be a carryover with the 2 10 boxes.
That's correct. So box number 3 will be worth $20. Spoke about this briefly in the open, but this will be our last skins show of the season. Next Saturday at noon. Be sure and be watching and set your VCRs because you'll want to save this one. Next Saturday at 12 noon, a rebroadcast of our Christmas Day show from Stars and Strikes singles competition, Paul Berger against Glenn Shattuck. And then 2 weeks from today, the New Hampshire State Candlepin All Events Championship gets underway. We'll have that for 4 weeks, 2 weeks of women's coverage, 2 weeks of men's coverage.
Spare for Paul Willitts in the 3rd.
Nine for Fred Ruonala. We'll explain more about how the state championship works in a couple of weeks when we have that first state championship show. But in a nutshell, the bowlers who get to the semifinals will have rolled 24 games in all to get there in all events competition. Well, that spare for Paul Willitts is going to hold up to win the $20 skin. $9 for Joe Ashline. 10 for Jim Flynn. Fred Ruonala on lane 30. Half Worcester, or rather a 4 horseman plus the 9. Now Paul Willitts on lane 29. And he'll have the 7 and 9.
That is 8 on his spare.
Lots of wood. Will it be enough to carry? Yes, it is. 2 in a row for Paul Willitts. $9 for Fred. Jim Flynn. Big first ball, everything but the 4-pin. Joe Ashline.
And he'll shoot at the 3, 6, 10 with no wood.
Joe looking for his first mark of the day. Jim Flynn had a strike in the 1st, and now a spare in the 4th. That will create a carryover. And Joe gets his first mark, so 3 spares in the 4th. Box number 5 will be worth $30 now.
A little full in the head pin that time for Paul. 8-pin drop, but the 4 and 10. Oh, big ball by Fred. Paul's got some possibilities with a double piece of wood.
Ooh, ball snuck behind, but didn't carry the 10-pin. Fred for the spare. And Paul for the $10. Joe Ashline, Jim Flynn, both working on spares as they step up here in the fifth. Joe fills his with 4. Jim fills his with 9.5. Rocking 5-pin. Jim misses the single. $8 for Joe Ashline and a 10 for Jim Flynn, but an opportunity missed with the single pin for the spare. Halfway through game 1 here on Candlepin Skins, Jim Flynn in the lead right now with a 68. Fred Ruonala filling a spare with 4. Fred won that $30 skin right before the break. Almost. Everything but the 9. And Paul Willitts misses too.
He has an almost too.
So no marks yet here in the 6th, which is worth $15. Jim Flynn misses the head pin, but not too bad.
Remember, only a 10 box up there for the skin.
Look out. Single for Joe Ashline. Jim Flynn for the spare. Yes, sir. Fine shot. Now Joe Ashline has to make the single just to carry it over. And he does. So that will carry us over to the 7th box, which will now be worth $40. Paul Willitts.
Shoot at the 1, 3, 7, and 10. 3, 5, 9, and 10 for Fred.
$9 for Paul. Likewise for Fred. Jim Flynn with the overall lead. Both Joe and Jim working on spares here. Joe's going to grab at least one more, maybe 2 more. He does. That's a 9 drop for Joe Ashline. We moved over to Jim Flynn's ball. Jim drops 8. Both with a reasonable chance for spare. Jim's going to be a little more difficult, but he does have a favorable piece of wood. Joe makes his. Jim makes his. Same as last box. They match spares, creating another carryover. Here's Jim Flynn's conversion on the 3-7.
That wood behind the 3 obviously helped him with the 7-pin.
Now a $65 carryover here in the 8th. 9 drop for Fred Ruonala. Oh, Paul Willitts gets a big break. Still not a great leave, but could have been a spread eagle. Fred Ruonala for the spare. Nothing doing for Paul. he'll take 9.
And 91 through 8. Still has a slight lead, although over Fred anyways, but Fred's working on a spare. The other two bowlers, Joe 77 in a ball and Jim 96 in a ball.
Jim to be first. Oh, big strike.
Right in there.
Big strike. Good for a $65 skin unless Joe can match it. Let's see.
Turn around.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Big strikes in the 8th. Joe Ashline and Jim Flynn, as they continue to match each other. That causes another carryover. Here's Jim Flynn's strike. The quicker of the two. That makes the 9th box worth $90 now. Paul Willitts will have a spare lead. Fred Ruonala will not. And that's just 4 on his previous spare. Paul slips by. $10 for Paul Willitts. And the 9 for Fred Ruonala. So they are just a pin apart, Paul and Fred, but running ahead of them and matching mark for mark, Joe Ashline and Jim Flynn.
It's 3 boxes in a row that each cancel each other out for the skin and halved it, so it's worth a few bucks. Joe looking for a double strike. That close.
Boy, he walked all the way over to the wall practically trying to get that one to come down. Well, let's see.
Oh, he's going to get a break here on the 6.
Yes, sir. Both with 9 drops. How about that? Well, could have another carryover here. No, Joe called it. He missed it. And Jim Flynn gets his spare for the big carryover skin. $90 for Jim Flynn on that single. And Joe makes it for the 10 box. So the 10th box now worth $50. Jim wins the big carryover. Jim Flynn's first skin of the day, by the way. I take it back, he won one earlier, the first one of the day.
Oh, he wants that one to stay up. Well, going to do that, take another one. It's not going to happen for Paul. Oh, Fred cuts the 3 and the 6, so right around the 7 pin. I don't know if Paul can go all the way to the left for that piece of wood on the 4 pin. That's what he's trying. Oh,
yeah.
Nice shot.
Great shot for Paul Willitts. Fred Ruonala has to settle for a 10. He'll have a 112, and he will be in 4th place at the end of game 1. Here's what happened to that great shot. You called it, Dan.
Oh.
Wow. Deserved to make it.
Now, Paul will fill the spare in the 10th.
With at least 7, it'll stay 7. 118 for Paul Willitts. 112 for Fred Ruonala. Joe Ashline and Jim Flynn already ahead of them, or Joe will be after he rolls this 10th. He's just 3 pins. Jim Flynn with 5 on his spare. Jim's headed for a possible 150 game here. Oh, he's got it, yes. Spare in the 10th. That's 5 marks in a row for Jim Flynn. Joe will be open, and that's a carryover, incidentally, because of that spare. As Jim carries over with Paul Willitts. 8 box for Joe Ashline, 124.
A little 4 horsemen plus the 8 pin. Wood turns and just enough right on the red line to knock down the 8 pin.
151 plus a ball for Jim Flynn. And he'll take 6, 7. That'll be it. 158 for Jim Flynn. He had 90 pins in the last 5 boxes. A carryover will have a $60 skin to start game 2 when we return on Candlepin Skins. Paul Willitts will start game 2. Paul with a 118. Right now, Jim Flynn has kind of lapped the field in first place, but there figures to be a pretty good battle for second at least if Jim doesn't let anybody crawl back in for a shot at first place.
Oh, just missed that head pin to the right.
The 7th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions begins tomorrow at noon here on the Winds of New England. From Park Place Lanes in Wyndham, it'll be number 6 seed John Plant against number 5 seed Jack Quinn. Again, that's tomorrow at noon right here on the Winds of New England. Fred Ruonala from Hampton, New Hampshire. Oh, great shot for Fred. Very nice spare. 1-3-7-10, clean. Well, Joe Ashline had 4 marks in that first game, but was not able to pick up any skins. In fact, the total winnings after that first game, Jim Flynn had 5 skins for $100, Fred Ruonala 2 skins for $30, and Paul Willitts 2 skins for $20. So Joe is the only one not to get on the board yet. Shot at a spare here on the 6 and 9.
And a lot of that was because of Jim Flynn throwing 5 marks in a row. The last 5 boxes took or halved the skins with Joe quite a bit. Took turns doing it to each other, actually.
This is a $60 carryover, remember, this first box of the second game. And right now, this may be a carryover too, unless Jim Flynn can seal it with a strike. He does not. So the carryover will continue. Misses the spare, too. This is Jim's 4th week in a row. Gets the 10. Mentioned he's finished second 3 weeks in a row, but he's got a big lead right now. Paul Willitts, Framingham, Massachusetts. Big shot in the second. This is a $7. Let's make it a $70 carryover, all right?
$7.28. Oh, he's sliding by the 6 pin.
$70 second box here. 10.
Opportunity missed there by Paul Willitts. Fred now working on a spare.
Misses the head pin, just 4. And now Joe Ashline working on a spare. Joe has finished first in total pinfall the last 2 weeks. 7 is the fill.
He'll shoot at the 3, 6, and 7, and a piece of wood right down the center of the lane, which he'll probably try to use that. Throw so hard, though, the ball might take off over the 7. Oh, he's too high. Oh,
he got it.
High enough. Look at him. There's 2 ways to make that. The right way and Joe's way. You got to be able to read the greens, I guess. He missed that far enough to the right. I'm sure he was playing the red line.
Well, now will he win $70 for that shot? Let's see.
Well, Jim Flynn has a tendency to take these things away from Joe.
He'll shoot at the 1-8.
And wood is rolling back, which should give him help. If he concentrates on hitting the head pin, he's got a real chance at making the spare.
Let's see.
Oh!
No, he chops it. $70 spare there for Joe Ashline. And that's his first skin of the day. So he makes it a big one.
Thank you, Jim. Now we're even. Almost a single. The buddy pool.
Paul Willitts punches through. Paul works as a teacher in Holliston, Mass. And he will be open again in the third with a 10 box, this third frame worth $10.
He's like an imposter? Or is he a teacher? Works as a teacher or he is a teacher?
He is actually a teacher.
All right.
5th grade. Fred Ruonala is a communication specialist for the Hampton Police Department, Hampton, New Hampshire. We've kind of been featuring police departments the last few weeks here on Candlepin Skins.
Police departments and post offices and teachers now. Fred will take a 9. 5th grade, that's what I used to teach. You know that?
Is that right?
Yes, 5th and 6th grade.
Now, little known fact about you also, I think that we should discuss, is that you were a coach at one time.
Yes. Basketball and baseball.
Couldn't stand the heat, got out of the business. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was, you know, it's me or Bobby Knight in Indiana, and they chose Bobby as.
What an oversight.
He could throw a chair farther than I could. I was throwing the bowling balls, he was throwing chairs. So. Joe just missing the spare.
He gets the 10, which could create a carryover, if Jim Flynn doesn't mark. Jim Flynn's going to keep an eye out, at least for Joe here. Moving up behind him here.
Ball was right in the 1-2 pocket. Jim ball goes fairly straight down the lane. He's going to shoot at the 6 and 9, and not quite.
So we have a carryover. 4th box will be worth $25. 10 for Jim. 3 in a row in this game for him. Thin hit, Paul Willitts. Again, next Saturday at 12 noon when you tune in. Don't be shocked when you see Candlepin Stars and Strikes come up, because it'll be a special rebroadcast of our Christmas Day show between Paul Berger and Glenn Shattuck. And be sure to join us 2 weeks from today, Saturday, May 6th at 12 noon, when we begin our 4-week coverage of the New Hampshire State Tournament, semifinals and finals for the women and the men. Now, as of this moment, we don't know who will be on the state tournament shows, but it is possible that for the first time in actual championship competition that Dan Murphy could make an appearance on that show.
Oh, I had a shot until you mentioned it. You rally killer, you. Fred just missing that spare opportunity, but he gets the 10 and takes the lead for the skin. Now it's going to take a monumental effort. These young guys, I don't know, I can't keep up with them anymore.
Oh.
Big strike for Joe.
Joe is making up some ground fast on Jim Flynn.
Take Joe Ashline. He throws more strikes in an afternoon than I do in a month. There's another one. Tripping the 10 pin. And Jim Flynn can only have the skin now, or it's Joe Ashline's.
Come on.
It'll be Joe's for $25. Joe's won all the money in this game so far. 9 for Jim. You see, what was a 34-pin lead is down to a 19-pin lead, less whatever Joe fills on that strike.
Right now, Paul or Fred have to put some offense up.
That's right.
Jim Flynn something else to worry about right now there. Now Paul's been open the entire game, the second game, and Fred opened with a spare 4, but then was open 3 boxes. Oh. $10, $165 total now through 15 boxes.
Now, what I want to know is, Dan, we've talked about, we'll get more into it in a couple of weeks when we get to the state tournament itself, but we've mentioned that the competition that we're actually going to be televising is the semifinals and the finals of the all events competition.
Right. That's the overall winner.
Right.
In other words,
right.
Bowls in all the events, singles, doubles, mixed teams, and you take your score from each of those events and add them together so we get an overall winner.
But what I want to know is, obviously there are cash prizes involved. Is the winner obligated to share some of the winnings with all the other team members that he had to be with to accumulate that score?
Well. Ooh, you put me on a spot here. See, I don't bowl with the smartest people in the world. I've been taking the money every year, and they don't know any different.
And we're going to have a piece of wood looked at on lane 30, and guess what? It's Kevin Davis filling in for Cindy Sissom. And Kevin makes the quick ruling, and he says, "Oh, are you kidding me? That piece of wood's in play. He didn't even walk all the way down there."
Right. Good eyesight. Or lazy, one of the two. I think Joe needs it anyways for those.
No, he decided to go without it. Or maybe he didn't intend to do that.
I think he just said tried to play it.
Yeah.
That's an 8 fill on the strike, though. He's going to punish it now, I'll tell you right now. It's going to whack.
Yeah. Got it out of the way. $8. Possible carryover with 10s here unless Jim Flynn can put up a mark.
Jim has been a little less than sharp this second game. He's going to have an opportunity here on the 1, 3, and 10.
Well, see, I wondered about that because, looking at the format here for the all events, you bowled 21 games just to get to the semifinals. Nice shot, Jim Flynn. We'll get more of that about the state tournament in a minute. Spare for Jim Flynn to win the skin, and we take a break right here from Londonderry. We'll be back in a minute. Paul Willitts. As we get to the final 4 boxes here on Candlepin Skins. Final 5 boxes, I should say.
Paul will shoot at the 1, the 3, and the 7. Not a real good angle on the piece of wood between the 1 and the 3, though. That threw that head pin right straight to the left sidewall and didn't have a chance of going back on the 7.
$10. But getting back to what we were talking about before the breakdown, I was half kidding, but just to straighten it out so that people don't misunderstand, the All Events Championship comprises 5 different disciplines, which you mentioned before, and then from that point, the top 5 qualifiers, the top 5 in total pinfall in all of those events, move into the quarterfinals.
Right.
From that point, 2 plays against 5 and 3 plays against 4 in 3-game matches. And then the 2 winners move into the semifinals, and that's when we pick it up here on the Winds of New England. I take it back, 5-game matches in the quarterfinals. But if you get the bye, if you're the overall lead qualifier,
that's the only thing I can hope for.
The number one, if you're the number 1 qualifier, you could have rolled 21 games to get to the final round, but only 5 of them are actually in singles competition.
Right.
But there is prize money involved in all of the
all
other
the events. Right.
disciplines,
Some people bowl just the teams. Some people bowl just the singles.
Right.
because there's an added entry fee if you're going to get into the all events, and that entry fee has to be paid before you bowl your first event.
And this is open to all league bowlers in New Hampshire, correct?
Right. You have to belong to a league in a New Hampshire Candlepin Association house. That's a spare for Joe, and he'll take the lead for the skin. And again, back up to Jim Flynn to take it away with a strike or have it with a spare.
$15 skin here in the 6th.
And Jim is also working on a spare.
And he'll take 8.
And good possibilities of making another spare with the wood next to the 3-pin.
He's got it. Creating a carryover and his second mark in a row. The 7th box will be worth $40. Gets the kick.
Paul Willitts still looking for his first mark in this game, too. Three, 6, 10. Piece of wood behind, which should help with the 7 and the 8. Got a shot at it. Oh, my.
Paul still hasn't had a mark in this game. And he's at 66 through 7 and going to need some offense in a hurry, as does Fred Ruonala. Joe Ashline and Jim Flynn have kind of taken over here in this second game. Does he have enough juice? Not enough to get the 7. $10.
70. Well, Joe working on a spare. Pretty comfortable lead now in second place. And he'll add to that lead with this ball.
Big first ball, 8.
2 and 5 left. Trying to make it 2 marks in a row.
Yes.
And again, he puts Jim Flynn in that situation where a strike will win the skin outright. A spare will have it. Anything less than that, Joe Ashline will win it.
No, that close to a strike. It's a 9 drop on the spare, though. Jim determined to hang on to his overall lead here.
Ooh, it's got to hurry.
No.
Gave it to Joe.
I guess I'm buying lunch. Dinner or something.
Joe Ashline takes that $40 skin. Jim takes the $10 instead.
Do I have to kiss you in front of everybody?
No.
Paul Willitts in the 8th. And there's the big hammer.
Where's it been? Throws his arm up and saying, what's happening here? Finally.
Give me a throw to him. Freddie, get him.
7 and the 9 go out at the end.
Joe says, get him, Fred. And he almost did. Matching strikes, but he'll shoot at the 2 and the 9. 3 and the 9, I should say. And it's looking better all the time. It's turning around.
For the spare. Yes. A little bit of a pause there, but it goes out.
Well, can Joe take it away from Paul?
Paul needs the money.
A little full. 6 fill on the spare for Joe. This would be a heck of a shot if he makes this one. Nope.
Trying to make that real time.
Last time he said it, he got it.
And Joe takes the 9.
That's exactly what they did.
Well, the two guys who need the marks have them. Right now, Paul with the lead for the skin with a strike, and he will win the skin with a strike. Jim Flynn will take an 8. So we move to the 9th, which will be worth $25. Well, now, if Paul Willitts were to throw another strike here.
Yeah, that's his, not his only hope, but that's his best chance, I would say. Throw another strike. Well, it's good enough. It is!
Double strike for Paul Willitts.
Now, that could make things interesting.
Yes, it could. Here it is. Fred Ruonala on a spare.
Take the other one.
And he gets the break. And a nice turn of the wood as well. So Fred and Paul making a little noise here in the late going. There's 2 marks in a row for Fred.
Joe Ashline has to be a little worried.
It may all come down to what Paul does on that next ball.
That's right. Oh, it's definitely going to do that.
Yep.
Still need a big fill. 2, 4, and 8. Piece of wood. He wants to catch the 2-pin in that wood to help him with the 8-pin. I didn't get any of that wood. So he will be open in the 9th.
One thing I think we can say is that Jim Flynn appears to be safe to at least finish second. That's what he's done today. Jim in the 9th. Oh boy.
Well, he's, yeah, I guess. Well, it depends on his box. I mean, he might be within a mark of Joe, and if Joe were to mark and he gets a bad box and Paul throws another strike and the thunder comes and...
All kinds of combinations. Well, at least Jim avoided the bad box here, which was certainly a possibility after that first ball. He gets out with a 9.
That helps the cause a little bit. 14 pins ahead of Joe now. So you would think Joe would need a double strike to catch him. But Paul, focus now is on Paul Willitts, and he really has to have a big fill.
He just won another skin, $25 in the 9th. The last one of the day worth 50, and look out. It's a 7 on the double strike.
Needs this mark.
Got it.
Got it.
Spare on the double strike. 123 plus a ball.
This computer will add up when I put the fill in on this spare.
Needs a big one.
Full.
Well, just 5. 128.
Not enough.
2-game total, 246. Joe Ashline already at 247. Well, if Fred Ruonala were to throw a triple strike here, he'd pass Joe Ashline, but only by 2 pins. There's 1. Fred has the lead for the skin here in the 10th. But the best he can do is 249, and Joe is already at 247, and it's all academic now.
Yeah, it's going to be Joe and Jim. A little bit of scare by Paul Willitts and Fred toward the end, but Fred has been shut out for skins, and he leads his 10th frame.
Yeah, the only skin he had was back in the first game. He finishes 127, 239. But neither of those scores will be good enough. It'll be Joe Ashline and Jim Flynn again. 3rd week in a row they've advanced together. And Jim Flynn will carry over through the summer for his 5th week in a row in the fall.
Joe Ashline turned before he threw that ball to Jim Flynn, said, "You got one more in you?" Meaning, I have another strike. He wants to carry this over. He threw a tremendous ball. Joe did and left the 6-pin. So Jim Flynn will have to throw a strike, or it'll be Fred skin in the 10th.
Joe right at it for the spare. 133 plus a ball. But it looks like Jim and Joe are going to reverse their order this week. It looks like Jim is going to finish first for the first time. There's the strike. There's the strike on the spare. But that strike doesn't mean anything for the skin. Fred Ruonala still leads with his original strike. 20 pins in the 10th for Joe Ashline, 143, 267.
There you see the fill on that spare. Well, Flynn needs a strike to carry over.
Little light, and the mix.
Hang on.
The mix, not enough. Fred Ruonala gets the $50 skin in the 10th. Spare in the 10th for Jim Flynn. Well, that was a little poetic justice there. Paul Willitts and Fred Ruonala got the last 3 skins, the big money skins at the end, even though they're not going to advance. 113 plus a ball for Jim Flynn, who will be our pinfall leader today. A 6, 119, 277. So Jim Flynn and Joe Ashline advance again. We'll be back to wrap it up and talk about the rest of this weekend and next weekend here on the Winds of New England in a minute. Doug Brown and Dan Murphy back at the Londonderry Bowling Center. Once again, we set it up at the beginning. It was again Joe Ashline and Jim Flynn. The order a little different this time, but very tough to beat.
JJ show, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, Joe and Jim. They bowled well and got their skins along the way as well, but there was back and forth with those two bowlers. Fred Paul made a run 'em at the end, but it just wasn't quite enough.
Let's look at the scores first. Today, the two-game total pinfall. Jim Flynn, 277. Joe Ashline, 267. They will both advance. As far as the prize money is concerned, Joe Ashline tops that list with $135. Jim Flynn second with $115. And Jim Flynn joins me now here as we have a second to chat. We've had a nice run here, 4 shows in a row, and you'll be feeling pretty good right now.
No, not really. Shoulder's a little hurt, the back's a little hurt, but it was fun. It was fun.
So now you get to, you don't have to worry about anything during the summer. You're already here. First time we come back for the new season in the fall, you'll be set to go.
Sounds good to me.
You'll have plenty of time to rest.
That's right.
Congratulations, Jim.
Thanks.
Nice job. 4 weeks in a row, Jim Flynn has advanced, so when we come back in the fall, he'll be making his 5th straight appearance. Joe Ashline will make his 4th straight appearance, but that's in the fall. We have some other business to attend to before then. First of all, next Saturday here at 12 noon, instead of Candlepin Skins, we're going to present a special rebroadcast of a Christmas Day show that aired on Stars and Strikes between Paul Berger and Glenn Shattuck.
Yeah, one of the classics. Don't miss it. If you miss it Christmas Day or if you saw it, you'll want to see it again. This is a great show.
All right, now, next reminder is 2 weeks from today. We will be back here in this time slot, Saturday at noon from the Londonderry Bowling Center with the women's semifinals of the State All-Events Championship here in New Hampshire. That'll be followed in successive weeks by the women's final, the men's semifinals, and then the men's final. A 4-week presentation of the New Hampshire State Candlepin Championship here on the Winds of New England on Saturdays at 12 noon. Now, tomorrow we begin our presentation of the 7th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions here on the Winds of New England. That will be tomorrow at noon. Number 6 seed John Plant against number 5 seed Jack Quinn. We talked a little bit last Sunday about the great field that we have assembled for the 7th annual tournament. We get it all started tomorrow.
Well, this is as great as it has been, and nothing but excitement. I wouldn't miss it.
7th straight tournament for Paul Berger as well as he continues his amazing streak. So tune in for all that. The Tournament of Champions action begins tomorrow, and we'll have that special rebroadcast next Saturday here from the Londonderry Bowling Center. Until then, for Dan Murphy and our whole Winds of New England crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a great weekend, everybody.